everybody, Sierra Taylor here for Creative Cake Art, and today is Friday. On Friday, we fix things this Friday and every Friday. So today I am answering a question about what to do when you have a really last minute cake order, because that happens quite often, as we all know, and you want to accommodate the order either because you feel obligated as a family member or a friend of a friend or something, or just because it's a client that always comes to you, or you just kind of need the money anyway, okay, which we all do, all right? So how to give a beautiful cake to that client while not costing yourself a bunch of time, because if it's a rushed order you probably don't have the time to do what you would usually do for a cake, and how to make something really simple and really pretty that everybody's gonna love and everybody wins with, you and your client. All right, so we're going to be working with buttercream, which is not something that I usually work with, but I think for this purpose buttercream is best, only because it's a really easy thing to make, an easy thing to get. Sometimes if you're rushed, you may not have enough fondant, you may not have like time to go out to the cake supply store or to order the fondant from wherever you order it from, but you can always go to the grocery store and get supplies for buttercream, okay? And then also because it's just really easy to like whip up the buttercream on a cake and to add some embellishments to it. And your client, if they have a really rushed cake, they may not always be bargaining for paying for a fondant cake. We all know fondant is not cheap, okay? So they may not have in mind that that cake is going to cost what a fondant cake costs. So you can allow them to have buttercream, which everyone loves, and it will kind of keep the cost down or within range a little bit. So we're gonna start off with a cake that we already have buttercream here, you can see, okay? I'm assuming you all know how to ice a cake. If you don't, I don't yet have a tutorial for that, but I will do one soon. That's very basic 101. You can find that almost anywhere on the internet. You can even find that in our Tuesday tidbit. Lori Saldana of There Should Always Be Cake, on her black tie sparkle cake, has a really good section of her tutorial where she shows how she buttercreams her cake upside down method with 2 masonite boards and make it really smooth and really clean, okay? But I just have a basic buttercream icing job. As I said, I'm not the buttercream expert or anything. I don't usually even work with this stuff beyond like putting it to cover and fondant, but this is good enough, clean enough to use for our purposes and to put our embellishments on, okay? So now we're using wafer paper, but you know what, before we start with the wafer paper, what I want to show you how to do is make a little plaque. Also, what I want to mention about this is that you can do all of this stuff ahead of time. So, and you really should. I used to work at a place where they would always make like plaques ahead of time. They would always have like these extra banners and flowers and things, so that when people did come in and they wanted like this last minute cake, they just wanted to come pick up, we always had the supplies there and ready to do that cake for them. All right, so this is a good thing when you don't have cake orders, or when you have a little bit of extra time on your hand, maybe during the week or on a Sunday or a Monday, you could do something like this where you're doing the wafer paper roses. These are really simple, cute little rosettes. I mean, so simple to make. So I'm going to show you those. And then these little plaques, you can do them all in white. This is actually with a little bit of a pink base, but you could even do them in white and then use like a petal dust to dust around it in whatever color complements what your client is looking for. So this is going to be a birthday cake for a woman, okay? So that's where we're using pink and white today. Plus I just love, I don't know, I just think it's a good color palette. My entire website, you know, is like pink and white with a little bit of brown. I just like pink, and I'm like, I love black to wear, but I just like pink in life. It's odd. So anyhow, so I want to show you how to make the plaque, because that would be the first thing that we would need to do to allow it a little bit of time to dry. Now I'm using fondant, but for this you could really, to make sure that it dries really hard, you want to use like gum paste, but mine is okay with the fondant because it's been drying for a little bit. Okay, I'll move this over. So just go ahead and roll out a small piece of your fondant. And I just tinted this with a little rose colored food coloring gel paste. Okay, put down a little powdered sugar, And then I have a really cool tool that you can use for cutting out these little plaques. It's actually a pastry cutter, but and this has some color mixed in still. So that hasn't been mixed in. So let me just knead this a little bit more to get that all incorporated. Okay, so again, roll this out, and you want to do it pretty thin, about, I don't even want to say 1/4 of an inch. This is probably about 1/16, 1/8 of an inch. And if you're doing these all like bulk ahead of time, you can even do, you can do a big sheet of this, like get your big rolling pin and do a big sheet of fondant, and then use this tool to do several plaques all at the same time. And then you just put them on a board, parchment paper, whatever, let them dry, and then you have these all ready to go for whenever you have like this rush cake order. Okay, so you just spread this out. I got this from Amazon. It's like I think maybe $30 or something like that. And it's a pastry cutter to like cut pastries all the same size, but it's great for cutting ribbons or for cutting squares or rectangles of fondant. So you just see how big you want it, and you cut across. Really easy. And you can see how if you had a bigger piece of fondant, you can do lots of these at a time. And then you just take it the other way. And we want to do kind of a rectangular shape. So we're just going to cut that way. So good. I mean, before I had this, I literally was like cutting with, I know you've seen some of these where I'm like using a razor and like, you know, straight edge and cutting and cutting and cutting, which is so time consuming. It's so worth the effort, especially if you do a lot of ribbons, to get something like that, because it saves you, oh my God, so much time. Okay, so now you could leave this as a square, but in order to give it a little bit of character, I like to take a little circle. This is a flower cutter, but I like to take the end of it, or the other side of it, the circular part of it. You could also use some type of a piping tip or whatever you have, something circular to cut the corners off. And try to line it up evenly, but if you don't, it's not so big of a deal. And then just kind of round out your corners, smooth those little jagged edges. Okay, and then you have like a little plaque, which you could also use for this if you on Amazon too. I've always seen like these little cookie cutters that have like a I don't know, it's like a kind of like a banner kind of shape to them. I'm actually probably going to order some soon, but if you have some of those, or if you have a cookie cutter that you'd like to use for something like this, you can even cut these out with cookie cutters, or you can just do like a square cookie cutter and cut it out. Totally up to you. But either way, you want to just make like a little plaque. This one doesn't have such deep cuts, but you get the idea, okay? So then you're going to set that to the side to let it dry. Once it's dried, you would take what I have here, which is just a little pastel or petal dust, and you just want to take that and a little brush, like a kind of a loose brush, and dip it in your pastels. If you want to lighten your pastel a little bit or lighten your petal dust, you can also use a little bit of cornstarch to do that, or mix it in with a little cornstarch so it's not such a deep color. But anyway, you just dust around the edges of your plaque with your petal dust. Super easy. Okay. Alright, so then we'll set that to the side for later. and get to working on our rosettes. So you see I have my rosettes already here, and I want to just show you how I made them. You just want to take a sheet of wafer paper. This is from Amazon too. I literally get almost everything from Amazon because I have Amazon Prime and all my shipping almost is free. Okay, plus I just don't have time to like go out shopping, so I order almost all of my cake supplies online, and when your shipping is free, like there's almost nothing better than that. Amazon is pretty good. So what you want to do is you just want to take a sheet of wafer paper and start cutting. And the idea here is that you want to go around and cut it into a spiral, okay? This doesn't have to be any particular way. I try to get my each layer to be around the same size, but whatever you end up with will be fine. Then take your spiral and lay it back inside of itself. Like this. Alright, round out these little corners here. Next, you want to take just a paintbrush and some piping gel, and go ahead and spread that over the entire piece of wafer paper. I have it sitting on this mat because it's like piping gel, it's just so sticky, but you can literally do it on your countertop, or you can do it on like parchment paper or whatever you have, a plate, doesn't really matter. The next thing that you want to do is take your piece, and you need something that you can like roll it around to begin with. You can use a paintbrush or whatever, something small, something skinny rather, and start off a roll. Or if you can do it with your hand, you just want to make sure that it's a pretty tight roll in the middle there, okay? So start with a roll, and then keep going with a roll. You're just gonna roll and roll all the way around. So essentially you would just roll this and kind of like, just like you would a piece of paper. I mean, this is essentially where this comes from. It's like an origami technique for making paper flowers, which is great, by the way. If you like to make wafer paper flowers, is to look into like origami techniques for that. And it's a little bit different because wafer paper is so brittle, it doesn't really bend like regular paper does, but all you need to do is put some piping gel in order to make it more flexible and to do all kinds of really cool stuff with it, okay? So you want to just roll. I am going to do some smaller ones only because I already have bigger ones here, but essentially the way that I made these bigger ones is I just rolled this paper into itself, the entire spiral. All right, so you'll see me, I'm going to just actually take some of these off as I feel like they are big enough, so they're like little rosettes to complement the bigger ones that I've already done, but literally same technique. You want bigger ones, you do more paper. You want smaller ones, you do less paper, okay? easy that was. Now you can do a bunch of those ahead of time too. They're so simple, and I mean, they look like roses. They turn out so cute. Like wafer paper, obviously super hot right now, so it helps to just know a couple like wafer paper techniques. If nothing else, just know like how to do a basic rose. Your clients will love it. Now also, these are a little bit wet still from the piping gel, but I do want to try to put a little bit of petal dust on them, just on the outside at least. And you can use any side of these you want, really, whatever side looks best for you. So just take a little bit of petal dust, or you cannot take petal dust if you don't want to. Trying to like just dust them on here since mine are a little wet. And my paintbrush hair is coming off on them, of course, which looks so super odd to a client. I mean, you could like never convince a client that the hair on their cake or whatever is actually paintbrush hair as opposed to hair from your head. So please just be careful about that. Set your wafer paper flowers to the side, and I want to show you now how to take your cake and do a basic buttercream piping border. Sometimes you can go without a border if you're like the super, you know, the smooth operator when it comes to buttercream, but most of us are not that person. So if you're not that person, like I'm not that person, then you definitely want to put a border on your cake. I'm going to put a bottom border later after I take it off of here and put it on a beautiful cake stand, but I'm going to show you how to do a top border that pretty much works for dang near any like buttercream cake. I mean, if it was like maybe, I don't know, Batman or something, you might want to do just like a regular bead border. But for pretty much any kind of like, especially a feminine kind of cake or a neutral kind of cake, this border that I'm going to show you works every single time, and it's really easy to do. So it's kind of like a mix between a couple different borders that I've learned over the years. I'm gonna go pretty slow so you can see what I'm doing, but once you get the hang of it, you can go a lot quicker than what I'm gonna be going here, okay? So you just pick any point to start with, and you wanna go around in an S. Okay, so you just really wanna make, you see there, you wanna make an S. So it's like, kind of like a circle and then down into an S. And you're gonna do the same thing over and over. And I'm using a star tip, a number 21. If you don't want it to be this chunky of a border, you can use a smaller star tip and go really dainty with it. But it's a very forgiving border. You can see that it's very pretty and really easy to do. Okay. So see how easy it is to just really pretty up your cake there with a nice border. All right, and then we want to just add on our other elements. So we actually still need this because I want to just put a little bit of buttercream underneath our plaque. But before we do that, actually, I want to write on our plaque. So usually, you know, people like a message, especially if it's a birthday cake. So I'm gonna take a number 55. This is a marble tip, and it's kind of like a round tip, but it's like an oval, basically, an oval shaped tip. And I think it's just better for writing if you're not like a super good writer with buttercream. This tip is pretty good to help you get a nice lettering job. You know, I find that sometimes people do like a number 1 tip or a number 2 tip. Number 2 is pretty decent, but people do like a 1, or even I've seen people write with a 0 tip, and it's just really like you have to be very on point with your scripting in order to not look like super squiggly and nuts, okay? The best way to get a good piping job is to start, okay, put your icing down and lift up and pipe and let it fall, okay? That's the best way to get it straight. And sometimes your line might break like mine is doing right now, but that's okay. You can just put it back together, okay? So you want to put your icing down, pipe out a line, and just kind of let it fall into place, okay? Rather than kind of like dragging it. You can do that once you get a little bit more experience, but if you're dragging it on your surface, it's really easy to make a more squiggly line than you intended. Okay, so that's pretty basic piping here. Alright, you can see that. The top part was kind of like how you would pipe if you were, you know, just starting out. You want to just pick it up and like let the line fall. The bottom is more like if you're a little more experienced, you can kind of put your own style into it and whatever. But, you know, as long as it looks pretty neat and all the letters fit and it's spelled correctly, then you're doing good, okay? Now you just want to grab your cake, and I am going to put this down for a second so that I can switch gears here. I'm just going to take the tip all the way off because I want to put a little bit, you know, decide what's going to be the front of my cake. And I think definitely, let's say this could be the well, this has a little gash in it, so we'll let this be the front, okay? So decide what the front will be, and then you want to you want your plaque not to just lay flat, you know, give it a little character, so let it sit up on some buttercream. Mine is still not 110% dry, so I'm going to put a little more buttercream to support so it doesn't start getting flimsy on me over here. Okay, now, so you can see your plaque there. Now you just want to think about where you'd like to add some of these wafer paper roses on. Again with the paintbrush here. Okay, so kind of stick those in your cake. I feel like this could use one more, so I'm going to add one more onto here, but then pretty much that's it. So if you wanted to add a little bit more color, you wanted to maybe grab some green, actually I think I do want to maybe add a little bit of color, put some like green leaves in between here a little bit. So I'm just going to grab my green piping bag and show you how we'll do that. I added 3 more wafer paper flowers here, and here onto the cake. I think that made a big difference. I'm debating about whether or not I want to put these leaves, but I do want to see what it looks like. I feel like it might be cute, although I really like it how it is now. But either way, if it looks jacked up on mine, you'll know not to do it. But if it looks pretty, then you know this is something extra you can add to your cake. So I'm not giving this to anybody anyway, so we might as well just experiment, right? Okay, I like it. I think that's enough though. You don't want to overdo it with the greenery, but I think that's pretty. Maybe one more. Or two more. See how you can easily overdo it. Okay, anyway, so this is cute. So I say yes to the leaves or yes to not the leaves, whatever you like. It's totally up to you. I'm gonna stop now. All right, so that is, like I said, a very simple way to do a really cute buttercream cake for a last minute client. And I mean, this could have so many different color palettes and lots of different things that you can put on top. A very easy border that you can do on almost any cake. If it was just like a fun kid's birthday cake, you could use some rainbow colors. Maybe ixnay the flowers and put some balloons, put some like rainbow nonpareil sprinkles. So cute with a little cake like this. Throw it on a really cute cake stand, which you should have, by the way. We always need cute cake stands, and you're good to go. I mean, for as far as what I would charge for a cake like this, if it was just vanilla and vanilla, I might say maybe like somewhere between 90 and like 130, okay? What's better than that? All right, guys, this is Fix It Friday. I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that you're able to use this cake. Make it your own, make it your client's own. Have fun, and as always, if you have any Fix It questions, leave them below in the comment box for me, and I will be picking a Fix It question and making you a video answer for it each and every Friday. Also, you can leave them for me on our Instagram account at Cake College. All right, thanks, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Are talking about you have to